All right, today is 12/13/2020, and this weekend's California conference for all of you California rebels is about to begin. Marcus, I'm turning it over to you, and I'm out.
Happy trails, Hal.
I'll get better, get rest. That was Hal Lohr of Independent California. He contracted COVID recently and will be sitting out this particular meeting. This is the IC Zoom channel. It's available for everyone in calexit, regardless of what org you're into, to talk about anything related to calexit. And let's just be nice to each other while we do it. So I'm going to go down the agenda. We are doing an update on IC. That means Shankar. You have a couple minutes to talk about anything IC's doing. You could make it short and sweet and get on, or if there's some topic you want to go to. Shankar Singham, what's going on with IC?
Yeah, so as you know from Hal right there with COVID, everybody's getting sick. Nobody seems to be changing their behavior. However, it is too risky to go out and grab signatures, so we are suspending that. So right now, I think I'm trying to rethink strategy here on how to get out on top of what's happening right now in America. I mean, it's kind of a big hill to get on top of to get in front of this. But for some reason, how should I put this? The path is opening up for secession. It's making its way. It's making its way to us. Fortunately, it's coming to us on the Republican side. And so, thinking about getting together with Joe Payne and talking about maybe forming a new Republican Party as new strategy for IC, given the COVID and the signatures. I haven't done anything online yet as well. I haven't promoted the petition yet either because it isn't up. I could put a link, but I think everybody's watching as far as the news is concerned. You know what everybody's watching. Yesterday there was a massive rally in Huntington Beach, and usually I would go. Unfortunately, these rallies have individuals looking for a fight, specifically for a fight. They want to fight. They want to square off and fight. And for that reason alone, I didn't go. I don't want to play into their narrative and put more, stoke the fire of their feelings over facts attitude here. So, and I advise everybody to do the same, not to engage or go to one of their events and counter protest. It's just right now it's not worth it with them. If I feel like if we add any wood to this, it's just going to make it worse. So I don't even know about the California Republican Party starting that up. I'm not sure about that. Should we let things cool off first? I mean, things are happening so much and so fast right now, and it's Christmas, so kind of in a holding pattern. And I don't know. We'll wait and see. That's all we can do. So that's the issue.
Thank you. Awesome. Keep rocking on. Let's go to John Simha. So John's doing two different panels. The first one's going to be on the Bernie Party. I know that's not the right terminology, John. Forgive me. Yeah, you'll introduce it. But John's going to talk for about 10 minutes about what's going on with the Bernie Party, how they're breaking apart, and how he's already made traction with getting some of these hardcore Bernie supporters to go, you know what, maybe calexit is the answer. So again, let me repeat something I say whenever I have the libertarian candidates on. You don't have to back the Bernie Party. John's here because he's talking about these are Californians, and they're getting upset and saying the American political system don't work. That's how we get members. So, politics aside, this is about outreach. John, tell us what's going on with MPP or the current variation of it, and how that's good for calexit. Please, sir.
Yeah, just to provide a little bit of context, I want to talk about the history for a second. I won't take all 10 minutes. I only need a few. In 2016, the majority of the staffers on Bernie's Our Revolution nonprofit walked out the day before the launch. And you can see an article in the San Francisco Chronicle about that. One of the 8 staffers that walked off Our Revolution was a gentleman named Nick Brana. Nick Brana started an organization called Draft Bernie for a People's Party. And from the beginning, they advertised it as a major new party that was being established to challenge the corporate duopoly that was present in the Democrat and Republican platforms. They were basically snubbed by Bernie. Bernie didn't even acknowledge their invitation to join him, or the fact that they named the movement after him. When it became clear that he wasn't going to engage them, they changed the name of the party to Movement for a People's Party. And their focus was on outreach, on social media, marketing, PR, publicity. And after the Democratic primary, the Democratic convention, they held their own convention in Milwaukee, call it the People's Convention. And it was extremely well attended. Hundreds of thousands of social media engagements. They had Nina Turner and Cornel West, just to name a couple of the people that were that spoke at the People's Convention. And after that convention, they saw a huge spike in their volunteer requests. They were completely unprepared for the onslaught of interest that the convention generated. And it became very clear very quickly to a lot of us that have been involved since the beginning that the organization was completely unprepared, and they lost a tremendous amount of momentum as volunteers were seeking to get involved and had no guidance, and were sitting there twiddling their thumbs while the national leadership of MPP, Nick Brana, and the CC, they call it, were still all over social media doing podcasts and Zoom conferences and whatnot, that many of the people in the group saw as pandering, platitudes, lacking substance. And the Slack channel that the MPP was operating started to hear rumors of another organization forming within MPP to challenge the leadership, and they called it the Revolution Within. And they have a Discord server called Revolution Within. Many of the most active volunteers for MPP are involved with that. And they basically put together a petition addressing all their grievances with MPP and why they felt the need to create a group in solidarity with those asking for more accountability from MPP. Well, MPP poured fuel on that fire by not acknowledging the petition right away, by not providing clear answers. And the Revolution Within party grew as more people were experiencing the frustration during the onboarding process in their volunteer program. Well, a lot of the active volunteers opened up the Revolution Within Discord channel to people who wanted to plan around harnessing all the energy that was in this group to create an actual progressive movement. So that's where we are now. Within that RW Discord channel, there are dozens of conversations happening regularly. And the issue around organization is something that we can learn from here. And I'll talk more to that when we engage on the Return California conversation, because we are not prepared for the success that we're experiencing, and we have a dire need for people with organizational skills, with technological skills, with graphic design skills, to harness the energy that is being created. And within the Revolution Within Discord group, there's a California organizing circle, because MPP is a national organization, but California is by far the most active with volunteers and leadership. And several of those people have approached me on the side with questions about how they can get involved with Return California. After our last roundtable, we saw nearly a 300% increase in our web traffic. And I don't want to have the same problem that MPP is having with not being able to onboard people effectively and to figure out where their talents are and where they could best be suited for independent California efforts.
Are they using a website or a platform to organize?
Discord is the name of the app.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's like Slack, but much more
right.
much more powerful. And it's actually yielded a new platform, which is called Gilded, which Daniel and Marcus and Matt and Jason are all a part of already. And I'd love to get you guys involved there. Check out the platform, gilded.gg. I'll put that in the chat. And that's what I hope to use to manage the onslaught of people who are looking to get involved. So thank you guys for your time.
I just want to say that the time is ripe right now for a new party. It just seems like because I mean, especially on the right wing side as well. I mean, you've got Trump, literally this monster they've created, which just hijacked the entire GOP. You got all these senators who really know he lost the election, are backing him up because they're afraid they won't get elected again. So what Trump is doing is like forcing the GOP to be a shitty party or die. Their choices are done. I mean, I can't see where the Republicans and all those people, those Trump supporters, they're not going to go back to the Republicans and the GOP. They're going to start a new party up. Watch. That's all I got to say. So.
Okay, we're going to take questions to John specifically on this topic. We're going to get to other stuff. How and what can we do to reach out to these people who are upset with the Bernie Sanders party? One of my understanding is basically the Bernie Sanders group, whether you agree with them or not, felt that the Democratic Party was more corporatist and structured and not transparent. I'm not taking a side. I'm just trying to explain where they were coming from. So then they said, we're going to make a party that's independent of that. Now that party under Nick Brana is appearing to do all the things they said they didn't like. So you have a lot of people who said, I'm going to give democracy one last chance. I'm going for Bernie. And then they felt cheated. Don't have to agree, blah, 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 blah. That's just how they felt. So then they said they're going to make their own party. And now they feel cheated with that party. So we have thousands of people who here in California who largely feel democracy hasn't worked for them. And John's had a couple of conversations with them. I think Miko was one, and a couple other people where he's mentioning calexit. They're going, So questions for a few minutes specifically on how we can reach out to Bernie Sanders people who are disenfranchised? Hannah, yes.
Oh, I just was asking the question about what about the Peace and Freedom Party, and why is there a need to form a new party? Sorry, that's not really the conversation. That's not
Yeah,
exactly the
let's
question.
stay on topic for this. We can come back to open discussion, but how do we reach out to Bernie Sanders people, because this is a way to get members for a movement? So, question specifically on how to reach out to Bernie Sanders people for John. Oh,
Does anybody have a question?
no.
No,
Because, dude, I mean, look at, man, I know these people, man. I mean,
yeah.
you want to reach out to them to join the independence movement. I mean, they're programmed. It's if they know they're well aware of us and they would have done it by now. I mean, that's going to be a hard sell, man. I think a new party might be an easier sell, but all these factions and drama happens within it. It's a ridiculous. And the Democrats with Pelosi, Pelosi just fucked up in a major way.
Right. Hey,
Again.
Shankar, here's the question, I think, though, is Bernie Sanders supporters, and I know the people hang up at Norton's coffee shop and the like, are they really a member of any party right now at all? I mean, that's the question I've got. And of course,
No.
the point I might say is, I would think, though, actually, I think we'd be honest with you, is, you know what? You know, they're not really they can't be really party joiners anyways, or otherwise they wouldn't be talking about, they already are parties. So if you want to go third party, there's good third parties. If you want to go Democratic, there's Democratic parties. So not too sure if these people are really, I'm not, it's really nebulous here. I'm having, like, we're talking about trying to grab onto some jello.
We're talking about like society. We're talking about independence here with these people. I don't think they just won the election, or somehow, well, they didn't lose the election. They didn't win it, but they didn't lose it. And so they're like, writing on that right now. I mean, to get them to switch to independent mode, I mean, we'd have more luck with the Republicans doing it, convincing them right now than the Bernie crowd.
So John is already convincing these people to switch to independence mode. Just as a fact.
How's it working?
Yes, I understand Republicans are. Yes, Dan, I see you. We're going to get right to you, Dan. Just want to point something out. John is already convincing these people to back calexit. They were super pissed off that their third party that was supposed to be all pro-democracy ended up not being everything they hoped it was going to be. And he has at least 6 of them in leadership, and I've met some of them who are competent and intelligent and from California, who are saying things like calexit might be the option. We should not walk away from this opportunity, whether or not you like Bernie Sanders or not. These people are looking for a home. So,
John, did you turn them on to CNP or to any one of the orgs, the 6 people that Marcus was talking about?
Before we get to, okay, real quick, John, answer that, and then we're going to go to Dan. Dan's been patient. So, John, quick,
Dan.
answer to Shankar, and then we're going to go to Dan.
I'm just bringing the attention to an active initiative that's circling for petition right now. And the fact that there's a commission to be established upon the success of said initiative. And that commission would be reflective of the demographic of California. So I'm basically appealing to their clear desire for actual representative democracy. So whether you agree with them or not is irrelevant. You either agree with democracy or you don't. You either want the majority to have their voice heard or you don't. I just included a Politico article that Marcus sent yesterday and that Glenn Greenwald retweeted today.
Oh, Greenwald.
Yeah, this movement that's happening is a clear example of the undermining of democracy in a major way. And to claim that we live in a democracy is just objectively false. So there's real energy here, and people are engaging with it as they realize they tried for decades to reform the Democratic Party from within unsuccessfully. So they started an effort to create a major new party and they don't call it a third party, which is why they don't join any of the existing other parties, because for whatever reason, those parties have been unsuccessful at gaining any traction. So they have created a major new party, and the people got really excited about that and devoted a lot of time and energy to it, and then watched the same thing happen again. Progressive voices undermined by a severely corrupt system. And you might not like Bernie. I don't really like Bernie at this point either. Really pissed me off by, kowtowing to the bullshit narratives about Russiagate and Bernie Bros toxicity and all that. He only enabled it by acknowledging it. He could have just ignored it or called it what it was, complete bullshit. So whether you like him or not doesn't really matter. You got to acknowledge that Bernie cleaned house in California during the primary with all the bullshit stacked against him, with all the other major players dropping out before we voted to align behind Joe Biden, with the exception of the one candidate that could siphon votes away from Bernie,
Okay.
Elizabeth Warren. So
Okay.
Elizabeth Warren, if you give her percentage to Bernie, Bernie won by 40% over Joe Biden in the primary. So,
Yeah.
let that speak to itself.
Okay, Dan. Dan, what was your question for John about Bernie
It's
supporters and how to reach out to him?
It's basically your question, Marcus, is to John. I mean, I would put it to John. He kind of partially answered some of it, but since you're involved with this movement and everything, you'd be the best person to tell us how best to reach out to these people and bring them into the independent California movement. What is your strategy? What is your opinion on how this whole group could do something to bring them in?
I think it's about aligning behind a platform that is clearly widely appreciated across party lines, and that's basically Bernie's platform. It's UBI, it's Medicare for all, it's free college and university, public college and university tuition. It's the forgiveness of college, of debt, of student debt. I mean, that platform is incredibly popular, especially during the time of pandemic. If we're supposed to stay at home, how are we supposed to do that if we don't have any money coming in? So it's a platform issue. And if an independent California has a policy platform that mirrors one that is clearly popular, then people will be likely to join. And the Green New Deal is a big part of that, especially in California, where we place such a heavy emphasis on our environment. And where I've found the most success is actually with the Red Deal. And I sent everybody the link to an article that was printed last year in Teen Vogue, of all places, that brought the Red Nation onto my radar. And the Red Deal takes the Green New Deal one step further. And pretty much everybody that I've spoken with about it is extremely supportive of the concept. And Return California's growing popularity is a clear indicator of that as well.
Yeah, John, just to follow up, assuming that we have the same values, basically, which we do, our platform is basically that platform, give or take a bit. So my question still is, how do we reach, let's say that we do have the same platform. We say, look, Independent California has your same interest in mind. How do we reach out to them? What's the best way to reach out to them and say, look, we have the same platform, come in and stuff like that? So basically, pragmatically, how do we get them on board? Is what I'm asking. Do you think?
We're doing it already. They're already getting on board. The Return California concept is indigenous led. As director of outreach for Yes, my goal when I started was to engage with as many different communities as possible. And of all the communities that I reached out to in the infancy of that role for me, the indigenous people were the most supportive from the get-go. They're like, you want our support for an independent California? Give us our fucking land back. You stole it and it's ours and you need to return it. And when you do that, there will be health that's restored and everybody will benefit. And so with the indigenous leadership, that's how we get people on board. And, you know, that's why my focus has shifted in the last 3 years to Return California. And its growing success is an indicator that we're doing something right. So.
Okay, with that, let's go into the second topic till 12:50. John already hit on it. We're not going to do questions on this at this moment. We'll come back to questions on this topic after everybody gets a chance to speak. So, John, for about 7 minutes, you have been reaching out to indigenous people. You went up to Humboldt. You have indigenous people on photos signing this. I think some of them said they wanted petitions to pass out. You've made a lot of indigenous people in the Humboldt, Mendocino region supportive of the petition and having them signing more photos of coming of indigenous signing this. Additionally, I think there was talk about if one of these indigenous nations declares sovereignty, that perhaps they could have a embassy for calexit in their sovereign nation, which would be a huge media publicity for us. So whether you're about returning land or not, this is a gigantic media vehicle. Indigenous people on their own saying, we're talking about an independent California because we want our land back, but it's indigenous people talking about an independent California. And if they actually offer an embassy for us, even symbolically, that's huge. So John, for about 7 minutes, what's going on? We're not going to do questions at this section, folks, at this moment. We're going to let other people speak. We will come back. So write down your questions. John, what inroads are you making, brother? What's going on?
Well, I direct everybody to the Return California YouTube channel. We have a number of testimonials recorded by indigenous people in support of independent California. So that's, you know, it's hard to argue with video. With more recently, you know, Marcus touched on it a little bit with our success in Humboldt with Julina Acosta, who's a member of the Pomo Nation of Mendocino County. They hosted our last roundtable, the 5th one, and have agreed to host monthly roundtables in the future on the first Tuesday of every month at 1 o'clock. You can put it on your calendar. It's the same Zoom link that we use for our Monday morning meetings. And it's the same Zoom link that I've shared with y'all in emails countlessly. Julina is one of the people that has been actively gathering signatures for the referendum, specifically in Humboldt and Mendocino, where she lives and where she goes to school, respectively. And I wasn't allowed to talk about this the last time we all met, but now I am. She had a meeting with the mayor of Rohnert Park, who was just elected against an incumbent, with a vice mayor who is also a business owner like the new mayor in Rohnert Park, where one of my close friends operates a business called Sonoma County Distilling. I reached out to him after hearing from Julina about the success that she's had with this initiative with gathering signatures. Not a single indigenous person that she's presented this petition to has refused to sign. That's incredible. Every single person that she talks to signs this petition. When she met with the mayor of Rohnert Park, he signed the petition. the mayor of Rohnert Park, the new mayor, signed our petition for California independence with the caveat that the commission that's established would include at least one indigenous person. Now, it says clearly that the commission will be 20 people, 10 women, 10 men, and that those statistic representation will be mirroring of California's. So that means for white people, for Latin people, 2 blacks, 1 Asian, and 1 quote unquote other. That quote unquote other will have to be an indigenous person for them to get success. So Julina called me after this meeting with the mayor. She was all excited because the Rohnert Park is Pomo territory. So that's her ancestral homeland. And I reached out to my friend from Sonoma County Distilling. I asked him what he knew about the new mayor. And he said, oh, he's a good friend of mine. We've been in the Better Business Bureau together. We've been working together to support small businesses in Rohnert Park, and I was a major contributor to his campaign. So I'll give you an introduction, and you can talk to him about Return California, which Julina already planted the seed for. So that meeting is happening this week. He and I will be talking about this initiative, and he wants Rohnert Park to be kind of a litmus test for how this Return California concept can be implemented. And Julina provided him with specific examples of other municipalities around California that have already returned land to the tribes, most notably the Mountain Maidu in Plumas that received 2,400 acres from PG&E, and the Wyatt in Julina's Humboldt County that received their traditional island back in trust from the city of Eureka. And last year was the first year since the Dulawat massacre where their traditional ceremonies were held on that island. So this is a major, 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 major movement, and we can either align with it or be left behind. So that's all I had to say about that.
Okay, thank you, John. Keep your questions. We will come back to this topic in about half an hour. We're going to go to Hannah Miyamoto talking about a way to reach out to academia. We haven't really done this, so it's a project to reach out to academia and also maybe a video. Hannah, for 10 minutes till about 12, well, 101.
Yeah,
What's going
sounds
on?
good. Okay. Well, we actually have 2 issues. But originally the idea was to have those of you who have ever been in gotten beyond, particularly if you've gotten beyond a bachelor's degree, would know there's a type of thing you call a anthology, where you get different scholars to contribute articles, and then you try to put them all together into some kind of cohesive package, and you package it as a book, right? And then the table of contents has lists and the like. And this is basically a way to get graduate students and college professors to write articles. What I had thought was to focus, since we're getting so close to this idea of independence, to talk about what would a breakaway, whatever, what would a Western Federation actually be like, and take it from a hard from a political science perspective, from a sociological perspective, from international relations perspective. Now, to be honest with you, I actually think it's hard for most of you, and it's not to be insulting or anything, to participate too much in this, because writing in academics is a very difficult particular kind of writing. And and especially if we were going to try to get an academic publisher involved, it's going to have to be people who are at least at the level of independent scholar. But Dr. Williams has actually, I've got him committed to this project. So this is for 2021. But I think there's something else that we can do. That I think I could get every one of you, I believe, would have the ability to contribute to this project in some way or another. And that is to create a YouTube channel on the 175th anniversary of the invasion of California. It's funny. It just came to my mind that, oh my God, there's this happening. But that it is the 175th anniversary next year. Um, but I'm putting right now on chat a link to, come on, you son of a gun. Have I? There we go. All right. Sorry. Got too many icons. Let me see. How many of you are of the 1.26 million subscribers to the Great War channel? Ever heard of it? No? Okay. Well, they have 1.26 million subscribers. They had a 4-year project where they did every single week of the First World War to commemorate the 100th anniversary. And what's really interesting about that is when you do it like that, two things. One, you get real detail, right? Because now you've got 10 minutes to talk about it in just 1 week of the war and all the different places it was fought. Okay. Number two, you get there's sort of an immersiveness to it, right? Because certainly you might know what happened in the First World War. You think, at least, maybe you don't. But do you know what happened in the invasion of Kitchener's invasion of Palestine in 1918? You know, probably not. Never heard of it until I just mentioned it, right? So there's a sort of immersiveness to it where you just sort of get sucked in. And I noticed, I literally, did I print it out? I literally have created a timeline now for this project, and it is about over 12, 13 pages, just events. You know what I'm saying? Sort of bring you back to the year of 1846, 1847. I also think it's just something like, so I was just planning to 18th of December to put out a video, but I'm just thinking if any of you could contribute to this. You can do video, you can do script writing, you could, if you're good at video editing, great. If you want to go and do video in your own neighborhood, for instance, because the California War was fought all over California, and I can only get to part of it. You see how I'm sort of saying how we can all get involved in this, how I think we can get media attention. I think, frankly, a lot of small towns would be really interested in this project just because they want to boost tourism. As soon as COVID is over, there's going to be like, San Juan Bautista. What is famous about your town? You know what I'm saying? Who knew? That you ever heard of the place? Maybe probably if you're 100 miles from it, you probably never heard of it. So that's what I just thought would be really cool. And it's a project that I feel I can do, but it's a project that I can use a lot of help in. And and frankly, I'll be honest with you. I feel like the further the far right is going to go on their own secessions movement, I think it's going to make it very hard for us to talk about secession because everyone's going to sort of say, well, Texas is about to vote on this. But we can work in some other direction, which is like this one, where we talk about how, as you know, California fought a war with the United States of America. Maybe the United States doesn't really have a right to be here in the first place. That's what I'm sort of saying. And I mean, there's a lot of discussion to be made. I don't want to, like I said, there'll be a lot of things. This is what happened with the Great War thing. I was surprised you'd, but anyways, this is something different. There's a precedent. I can tell you that you may not believe it that history YouTube channels are popular, but I can tell you I made a list for class, and out of like 13, 14 YouTube channels that I follow, the smallest one had over 200,000 subscribers, and the largest had over 4 million. And if you and I both know, boy, if we had 100,000 subscribers to any YouTube channel where we talked about California, it would be a big step for us. So there you go. Anyone got some suggestions? Anyone interested in this project, basically? Sue is. Sue, what do you think you want to work on?
I think I can just look around and see what happened here in Rohnert Park at the time of the
Well, I'll send you to Sonoma.
California War. Okay.
Sonoma's
okay.
right up in your area, and so is Sausalito.
Yeah, I can
Um,
go there and just stay in my car to stay safe from COVID and have a look around. Just what you want to do is send me tips on what to investigate into, what to research,
oh yeah, I would. That's exactly what I
what
was thinking. It
events.
would be really cool to have actual video. I
hmm
personally, for instance, have been to Monterey,
Right.
and
No,
Monterey.
I can even Google the events that happened here myself.
Oh, don't. Yeah, right. Well, yeah, that's part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
part of the other thing I want to do is create a Patreon channel, but it's
hmm
also to create a Discord server and have people communicate back and forth and giving ideas. If you know anything about these YouTube channels, you know how they try to get people involved into them, not just to donating money, but to donate their ideas. Like like hey, what or they people just ask questions. Like you
Right.
know. What was Pio Pico a bastard? Or who was Jose Castro? And and things like that.
hmm Absolutely.
And these are we can there's endless amounts and um uh
Well, that sounds like fun to me. This sounds like it's something right up my alley as far as fun goes.
well, fun is great. And yeah, I'm holding, by the way, some of the kind of material I've actually collected. This, for instance, is from the San Juan Battlefield Historical Park. I mean, this one. You see the did you see the title, by the way? It's Viva los Californios. And this is an actual article from 1973 by the Journal of San Diego History. And this is really exciting because there really is a lot of resources out there. And so it's just like this will be a chance to popularize it, and I think it will help build an identity about California as a country. Okay. Any more? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, there was a suggestion by Darren and seconded by John that perhaps a podcast. Have you thought about a podcast for this? What do you think about that idea?
I think that'd be a great thing for to make an independent project to be related to this project. Because you're right, a lot of these history channels actually have podcasts. And if somebody wants to organize it or host it, I mean, always be glad to be a guest, but we would get some professors and stuff to go and be interviewed. Yeah, it's all about building excitement and energy in the 175th anniversary of the California War. And then, I want to emphasize, this is what I'm going to talk about. This is why this is why we should all be excited about this project, because you realize we're not talking about the history of the Mexican War. We're talking about history from the perspective of a Californian. And I was thinking to myself, literally, just imagine, I mean, we're getting run out of time here, but just imagine for a moment, what would it be like to have been a Californian, born in California in the year 1846, when all this happened, and your whole life is being tipped upside down by a country that has been over there for a long, you know what I'm talking about, right? I mean, it took weeks to get to California from the East Coast, even from the Middle West, and suddenly they're here, and they got guns and they got cannons and they're telling you what to do, and they're telling you what flag you gotta fly and and what government you gotta honor and you gotta obey. I mean, that's how I'm talking about it. We got to make California history from the perspective of Californians.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love
KQ. So once a week video, podcast once or twice a week. This will be awesome sauce. Awesome.
Daniel.
Going to be great. Daniel.
Yes, Hannah, that came up last time you were talking. The question I never got to ask you is, would it be possible to get this into like school, at the elementary level where they start learning about California history? Because for adults, yeah, that's great. But if we can get the younger generation to really study California history, if we can present it as a school, criteria that they put in, I mean, that would be huge for the next generation learning about this. My generation was never taught about California history at all. So I think that would be a great thing to try to introduce into the curriculum of
No, I think it's absolutely right, and I think it's actually ideal too, because ironically, a lot of our children are right now sitting at home getting online learning. So it couldn't be a better time to send emails out, right? To teachers and to educational associations saying, did you realize it's been 175 years since California was invaded, and we're going to do a history project on this? Um, and I frankly, I was going to think it's built some almost instant controversy because people are going to say, "Who's doing this?"
Totally.
Oh, it's Marcus Ruiz Evans is involved, and that crazy
Okay.
Hannah Miyamoto. You
There's,
know,
there's a
they're
great
going to know. They're going to put two
opportunity,
and two
Hannah.
together very fast. Go for it,
There's a
John.
there's a great opportunity here to collaborate. We at Return California have been receiving submissions of curriculum from Indigenous people to update an independent California's public schooling system away from the missions curriculum and toward truth. And you may recall at the beginning of Gavin Newsom's uh, governorship, he established the Truth and Healing Council.
Mm.
And for the first time in my lifetime, there's been a major Indigenous voice in Sacramento, and the lieutenant governor sits on that council as well. So there's a lot happening, and we are about 10 days. Actually, it's the 13th today, right? Yeah, we are 8 days away from the official time for the next cycle's governors to announce their candidacies, and the 21st is going to bring some news that's going to rock California to its core, and I'm like beside myself waiting to share. So
Okay.
stay
Hey,
tuned.
John, what about Fremont? This is something I was thinking to myself was I remember all the desired, well, the Confederate general controversy, right? And getting around.
Hmm.
Fremont committed 3 Indian massacres, I found out, in a very short time.
Hmm.
And we have cities and streets named after him.
Hmm.
It seems to me like this should be a key, could be a real counterpoint,
Yeah,
centerpiece.
big time low hanging fruit.
Yeah, don't forget they just took down the Sir Francis Drake stuff here. They're renaming Sir Francis Drake High here in Marin freaking County, right? Like, yeah, I agree. This is huge, and I think jumping all over it. Hannah, these are great ideas. John, that's some great info to add in with it, right? Like, oh my God, guys, this is guys and gals. This is huge.
Good. Glad. I like the energy then. I like the energy.
Yeah,
Well, then
me too. We don't always see eye to eye, Hannah, but I'm with you on this 100%. So
well, I got one last week in school, so 18th of December I'm free, and personally, but I'm certainly love it if someone picks this up on their own. Like I said, I mean, we got to figure out some way to just start collecting emails. I think would be like, who do we email? How do we get press releases out? Because yeah, and
well,
especially in the
I,
day of COVID.
Hannah,
Russ
I
can
included in the
probably help
chat.
with that.
I included in the chat the email address from Joy Holland, who's a librarian at UCLA, who's
Hmm.
been very involved with Return California since the beginning. She's been at every single
Doing
conference, and
work in this area.
She
Okay.
came to the event that we did at Daniel's house before all this COVID nonsense.
Oh, I remember
Uh,
her.
yeah, she's a really special lady, and she's actually compiling a list of people in academia that are working on return land initiatives and back initiatives um, all across California and beyond. So she'd be a good person for you to contact, especially since you've already made a personal connection with her in person. So
Sure,
that's
sure. But
that's
I
fair to
guess it's
chat.
also something like I personally, someone like talked about how the skills we got to have. I think I'm probably the best video editor, After Effects, person around that we've got, and probably so you know what I'm trying to say? Like, in other words, once I've got this project launched to the point where you can say, here's something happening, then it'd be great if people start picking that up, you know. I'm always available for a phone call with any reporter who wants to talk, of course, and I'll explain it to them and just be sort of be the head girl. But at the same time, you know, be great to make this a massive project. A group project. I've even was saying giving people the title of Dawn. If you're a contributor, you know, I can be Gobernador, and then everyone else can be Dawn, and something like that, so that we remind people of the California heritage. But also, yeah, seriously, we want everyone to contribute, and if someone takes off the podcast, then great. They'd just be able to take the research that we're digging up and then talk about it. Basically, I think that'd be an example of how somebody else can go off and do something, and I don't have to be personally involved in it with it directly. Although I'm always happy to support it, and they can probably work off of the work I'm doing, and you know what I mean. We'll just create a buzz that'll be intense, and it's coming at
Yeah.
the right time when a lot of people, you know, as you know, Marcus has always pointed out to me that whenever they talk about California having its history, the vast majority of people just saying, "I've never heard of this before. I've lived here in California all my life. I grew up here." No, 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 no.
Yeah. One of the things that I love about the Gilded platform, and I included a link in the chat to that onboarding also. If you go scroll back to 12:29 p.m., you'll see gilded.gg with a Google Doc that has the onboarding process. I think you would I think you would excel in that space, Hannah. This is a place where the California independence movement can host basically a one-stop shop for all of the things that we're always talking about, all these different projects, all these different websites, all the different groups within CIM. They can all have representation in this space. And when people express interest, they can be onboarded, and that can be done by bots that we can program with any messaging we want. So if someone comes in and they're really into academia, they're writing their dissertation on the war of 1812 or whatever it was you said, Hannah, they can get funneled into your channel, and a conversation can begin there. This platform is incredibly powerful.
Okay,
And
I'm I'm just thinking Patreon is probably what people are most used to. That's the Patreon YouTube. That's people are most used to Patreon, and I haven't even looked at Patreon.
Yeah, but that can be a channel on the Gilded platform, on the Gilded server. So if somebody has interest in any of these things, they'll get directed to the right place.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
we don't have to do it. It can be automated.
Right. Well, this is great. Like I said, let's put this on the burner. I mean, we might even very quickly need to have an actual meeting, regular meeting on this very project. It's 175 years. One of the first things I want to do, by the way, is
when's the anniversary?
Gotta move on. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
we have a couple of.
It's 1846, so it's 175 years.
Okay.
And that's a
Thank
good
you
round
very
number.
much.
Yeah, for sure.
Got it.
We need to move on, absolutely.
Okay,
Thanks for the
so we're
time.
going to move on, make sure everybody gets included. We'll come back around. If you go to the chat box, you can see the Gilded link that John's talking about. John is not exaggerating. I'm not a techie. It's a fantastic program. Any of you that are techies, certainly Hannah, Darren, Daniel, Jason, you're going to do wonderful on it. John's right. I've seen a lot of organizing principles, and I'm not super big on apps, but I've seen them all. This one's pretty good. It's pretty good at, what do they call it? Projecting force, meaning you don't have 18 people to talk to everybody. You can use these bots to interact, and it really does a lot. So check it out. That's my plug. We're going to move on. Is Joe Payne here? Joe Payne? Joe Payne? Okay, well, we had him down for a chance. Citizens for American Liberation reached out to the Black Lives Matter Bakersfield group and helped promote them. We did some interviews. Shankar went down them and talked to them. There's a long-term interview where Shankar comes off like a boss. It was really impressive. But he also made some contacts, etc. And then about 2 weeks after we helped promote them a little bit, they finally caught the neo-Nazis or whatever that were harassing one of the members. So is that specifically because of us? No, I can't prove that. But this is the kind of action we need to be doing. People who are standing up for California values, we jump in and help them without conditions. And then things get better for them. Great. That's exactly the rep we want. We were there when no one gave a shit about BLM Bakersfield. And we went down in fucking force. And they noticed it. And then 2 weeks later, things get better for them. So you gotta go when no one cares. Not when everybody's popular. You jump down there and get out of it. Shank, would you like to talk about this real quick? What's going on, brother? You were there. What'd you see?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. We went down there and they were surprised when I asked them to affiliate themselves and to fill out the application on Black Lives Matter grassroots as a org of Black Lives Matter, and they're like the actual Black Lives Matter. So I think word may have got around that Black Lives Matter may be coming to Bakersfield, or they're thinking about it. So I think in lieu of that, they arrested those 4 guys. So to show that, hey, we're doing something about it. So you're right. You're absolutely right about that, though.
I'm just going to point out this is a lot like John's work with the indigenous. It's also a lot like Hannah's work with disenfranchised LGBTQ people. She really got us in there a little bit in San Diego a year ago. So I'm just pointing out, have whatever opinions you have about the indigenous, about Black Lives Matter, about LGBTQ. I think we all support them, but assuming you don't, the point is this is how you win. You reach out. Hey, do you not have love? Let's get in there. And folks, we have 3 different people who went 3 different directions and got results. So find a group you like and give them some love and say, hey, we're not asking for conditions. You don't have to back calexit. We're saying we back you. And we just want you to know that and say that. That's it. So we never went to the indigenous with conditions. We never said you have to back calexit. We never went to Black Lives Matter and said you have to back this. We just said we're all about this. And we think you represent California. And so for that alone, we're just going to promote you. Say whatever you want. Usually coming to them that way, they kind of go, no one gives a shit about us. Why are you here? Because you care about California values? Why do you care about them? Because we believe California is a separate country. And boom, does that put a spark in their head? Versus if you went to them and said, hey, I demand you recognize calexit. I don't demand anything. I just want to be your buddy. Why do you want to be my friend? Well, it's not just me. It's me and this group I'm part of. And we're doing that for libertarians and LGBTQ and marijuana and indigenous and BLM. And this is, and Sue Hirsch is always making inroads to new groups. So this is how we win. Y'all are doing it. 3 different people did it. Pick your own group. Just wanted to point out different people, different directions. Okay, moving on. We're going to go to a media review. That's from me. I'll make it real quick. Then Jason Wright had an announcement about Armenia. And then we will have a moderated discussion on returning land to the indigenous. So I'm going to talk about media for a few minutes. We're going to go to Jason on an Armenia update. He's been doing a lot of work there. And then we will have a moderated discussion on indigenous. Okay, media update real quick. Robin Abkarian, LA Times had an article out today about secession. Now, she's talking about Texas saying they want to secede. That's got everybody talking about secession. So yes, California has been in the news twice in the last 24 hours. We were not covered in the news for the last 2 months. Last 24 hours, California reporters talking about, yes, California. Why? Because they're talking about a state's going to secede. So that idea blows the imagination. Robin Abkarian was also the first major reporter to cover Yes, California in 2016. So when it was 2016 and we didn't even know Trump was going to win, she wrote the full page article in LA Times about Yes, California and calexit. Now she's back 4 years later. And in that article talking about Texas secession, she spends time talking about California leaving too. That article isn't just about Texas. She mentions us. So I think people know. I was also on local Los Angeles television talking about calexit 2 days ago. Or the evening before, the LA Times out of LA talked about calexit. Now, did Robin Abkarian see that local TV broadcast? I don't know, but it was the night before, and it was on the same topic, and it was in the same region. Maybe. Also, that LA broadcast was by a Californian of Iranian heritage who wanted to share his message with the 1 million Persian people in California and try to get them to back calexit. So we have a Californian of Persian heritage saying this is a good idea and I want all Persians in California to know about this. Never had that before. He contacted us. I didn't go to him. And then I said, do you want an interview? And he said, sure. Are you willing to talk to Californians of Persian heritage? And I go, are they Californians? He goes, well, yeah. And I go, well, then you already answered the question, brother. So, yeah. So he was shocked. We did the interview, it went out. Anyways, why is this guy wanting to do an interview right now? Why is the LA Times talking about secession right now? Why is Yes California in the news all of a sudden when we haven't been right now? Just putting that out there. Jeremy Zogby of Zogby Polling. Yes, the famous Zogby Polling. I met with him last week. We did a talk. He will come out to any future calexit conference here that we want. So we can have somebody who's known as one of the best polling institutes in all of the USA come out to one of our conferences. I'm waiting for Hal to get better. So he would be here today. That's on hook. Steve Ketman, the New York Times, also called yesterday asking, what are you doing? New York Times reporter called yesterday asking what's going on with calexit. Didn't call for the last 2 months. Interesting.
Jeez.
See, you all see how things are happening in the last 2 days that didn't happen for months?
Christ's sake.
Hint. Okay. Finally,
How do we get out in front of that, dude? How do we? They're calling because they want to know, like they want an angle on because these guys have been doing it for Calix has been around for. What are they doing now that secession's in the news? I mean, how do we get out in front of that? Is what I'm.
Photos of people signing the initiative. That's just my opinion. All of you are experts now. Shankar, you're a media expert. Hannah, you're a media expert. Sue, John, Jason, Darren, you're coming along, but I think you're a quick learner. Matt, Daniel, all you guys are media experts, right? So this is just my opinion. I could be wrong. Shank, I could be wrong. Shank, you may know and have a better idea, but I think it's a picture of someone signing an initiative. Seems to motivate people like nothing else. All that talk about how this is crazy talk just goes away when they see a bunch of random. Yes, Hannah, give me 1 second. When they see random people signing this. So Yes, California is going to have a mass email out in about 2 days, maybe 3, with about 60 photos. Yeah, exactly. Like John's showing. See what John's doing? I don't have those photos yet, brother. Just saying, I want those.
I know.
But you see that? I mailed a petition to Sue. I mailed one to Hannah. I mailed one to 2 other people. A picture of someone signing it. Or like Sue was saying, your neighbor. Put it outside your door. Never talk to them. Have them sign it in a quarantine. Pictures. Matt, still need those photos. We're going to have a mass email out in days with 60 photos of people signing this after Biden was elected, representing 8 regions, interior, north, south California. I can't think of anything better that says calexit's still going on than people signing it. So get those fucking photos. That's Shankar. The way we get the news to cover this is for the news to think that Californians are still interested in secession. That's the answer. So the question then becomes, how do you get the media to think people are still interested in calexit? There's no debate on that. The answer is, how do you need to show people are interested in calexit even though Biden won. So the question is how you do that. That's open to interpretation. This is just my suggestion. I could be wrong. Photos do it best. Hannah.
I just want to remind you though. Actually, this is a great example of newspeg, local newspeg, right? You'll raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. It's okay. A great example. There was the 70th or whatever anniversary of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, and in Minneapolis, who'd they call? Japanese American person. What connection do I have with the Hiroshima, with the city, with the bombing of Hiroshima? Nothing, except I'm Japanese and I know something about it and I can speak intelligently about it. It's the local angle, right? I mean, if there's massacres in Iraq, they go talk to Chaldeans in Los Angeles because it's always a way to try to connect people to the story. And so, unfortunately, when the story is so, if there's, so what's going on in Texas that makes people come to Marcus to talk about California because they want to find some way to relate whatever happens over in Texas, where where nobody's watching their channel, to what's happening in California. That's all it. That's what it is. It's local news peg, and it's always it's something to just think about, right? Whenever you see an issue, you want to find a way to connect it to the local scene. Like you said, we're going to talk about the Bear Flagger Rebellion coming up. We're probably going to be talking Simona, and then we're going to be looking at Northern California, and we're going to try to go to the local newspapers in Marin and Sonoma County to try to get them to be paying attention. Yeah, Daniel, because it looks like Marcus not paying attention here.
Yeah.
Daniel has a question.
I was just going to say, on top of the pictures of the signing, I think what's really effective is, Marcus, when you do videos with these people, or any of us doing videos with them, to have them some content that they can put up, and get, put out the interviews. That's huge. That's huge media. And especially today, video is the media that everybody watches, much more than reading articles. I do the same thing. So I think, I've seen you on YouTube because I get the alerts and stuff, and you doing interviews with these people. If you can get a Zoom interview with them when they're calling you and say, yeah, you know what, would you like me to do a Zoom meeting with you? And if they say, yeah, great, that's great media presence. And I think that's a huge other way that we can promote this, and not let these people go by without having content, so that's my view on it.
I think we're all in violent agreement. What's the best way to document people are doing this? Hannah reminded me of a concept that I'd forgotten about: normative programming. So if everyone's signing it all over the place, it must be something normal people do. That means I should do it. So photos, photos, photos. And if I don't have a photo of you, text it or email to me signing this petition, take a photo and send it to me. Get your grandma to sign it. Anybody. And we just got to have you have to see the document and the person signing it. So as long as we see that, we're good. Keep thinking about that. How do we make this seem normal? Photos, videos, I seem to be the answer. Maybe something there. Okay, let me wrap up, and then we're going to go to Armenia, and then we'll have a discussion. Last thing, I put it in the chat room. It's called Honeymoon, and then it says Biden admitting, and then there's a YouTube video, and then there's a Politico article. So January 6th, honeymoon's going to be over. The Republicans are going to have control of the Senate, in my opinion. That means they will block all progressive legislation. Biden will be reduced to doing nothing but executive actions. And so it's going to be highly ineffective, like the Obama times. I'm not blaming Obama. Yes, Obama tried really hard. No, they got no laws passed. Yes, political scientists call that the least productive congressional history in 60 years. So Biden is on track to be just as ineffective because he can't get any laws passed because the Republicans won't let him. If you're seeing the Republicans entertain this theory of Trump won the election, why do we think these people are going to be reasonable at all? So expect for them to be unreasonable and not care that what they're doing is destructive. Yes, I'm not, Dems and Repubs. Okay, but no laws passed, highly unproductive 4 years coming up January 6th. The other part of that is, and I played you guys last week, an MSNBC analysis. MSNBC, okay, super liberal, super Democratic Party supportive. And they were saying they're worried about Biden being Carter. Jimmy Carter couldn't get any laws passed because he couldn't work with, the Republicans were like, no. And Carter was constantly fighting his own party because there was this break between the mainstream and the extreme left within his party. Everything's shaping up for Biden to go the same way. Can't get any laws passed, only can do executive actions. And then within the left, he's fighting a civil war. So the two articles that you're going to see is one, it's a YouTube article. And then there's a political article. They have done an independent analysis of the Iowa Democratic primary. I'm not taking a stance on this. You don't have to agree. I'm just saying they had people look into the Democratic primary in Iowa. It was robbed from Bernie. Massive hijinks from the Democratic Party. Don't take my opinion for it. Read the Politico article from an independent study. So when Politico's covering this, it's serious, folks. It ain't rumor mill. It ain't just something you can dismiss. Also, this is from an independent study, and what they're saying is that primary was rigged against Bernie. I didn't say it. I didn't write the study. I didn't put it in Politico. But I can promise you, everybody who liked Bernie and is super progressive saw this article, and they're pissed. Point two, Biden has been meeting as a presidential contender with progressives. And someone recorded one of those meetings. You'll see it under Biden admitting. Biden basically yells at Black Lives Matter and other progressive activists and tells them, back up, don't tell me what to do, I'm gonna do what I please, and we're not gonna do super progressive legislation with the executive order like Obama. Also, the Republicans are probably gonna shut down everything I wanna do, really. Biden literally said that. It's on leaked audio, and he screams and sounds really angry at fellow progressives. I'm not taking a stance on that. Think whatever you want. But I'm just saying the extreme left is going to see that audio and be mad, and then they're going to see this Politico article and be mad. And this all came out about 2 weeks before the Democrats lose the Senate. So it's shaping up for Carter. It's shaping up. He's going to have hijacks from the left on his flank. He's going to be doing infighting, and he can't get any laws passed. So worse than Obama ever faced. Don't have to agree. That's just what I'm seeing. That's fantastic for our movement, because whenever America doesn't function, we're the gold standard for Californians. That's what I said to Jeremy Zogby, and he loved it. The gold standard is when the dollar falls, people invest in gold. We saw the Kavanaugh hearings when the Senate failed to properly vet Kavanaugh. We saw the hearings when the Supreme Court did some hijinks on the election. We saw Donald Trump try to play games with the election. Whenever that happens, people come to calexit. Also, I was at 8 different locations around California after Biden won, and people were still signing up for calexit. The key thing was nobody didn't like Biden. There was no hate of Biden, okay? People thought he was fine. They thought he was great, good guy. They still thought America's fucking up and sinking, and they wanted to get the fuck out. So chaos in America, and I'm telling you, massive dysfunctional Democratic Party in America coming January 6th. That means members for us. So be ready to reap and collect. Also, last little factoid. Again, I'm not a Bernie Sanders fan. Never have been. I've told you all that. I like some of the ideas. I just thought he was a little too extreme for me. So I'm presenting this as a fact. In California, Bernie beat Biden by 8 points. That's gigantic. That tidal wave that was supposed to happen refuting Trump, they were talking about an 8 to 15 or 12 point spread. Bernie beat Biden by that. That's called a tidal wave. So if you are a Democrat and you are in California, a majority of Democrats here favor Bernie Sanders over Joe Biden. Fact. That comes from the Secretary of State After Action Report for 2020, looking at all elections. If you buy into the theory that Biden was mainstream and that Warren split the progressive ticket with Bernie, then it goes to 50% of Californians would have voted for Bernie to 30 or less than 30 for Biden. That's stupidly, ridiculously indicative. If you don't believe in that theory, Bernie still beat Biden by 8 points, which is overwhelmingly in one direction. So say what you want. I'll send out the link. That's from Secretary of State Padilla on his after action reports. Again, I am not a Bernie fan, but those are the numbers. Okay, let's move on. Armenia, Jason, couple minutes. What's going on, brother? What's happening with Armenia?
Okay. So I'll just start by saying about 48 hours ago, military forces of Azerbaijan opened fire in the Hadrut region, opened fire on 2 villages. This comes after having a trilateral agreement signed by Prime Minister Pashinyan, President Aliyev, and Premier Putin. The agreement was that all hostilities are to cease, no more shots of any kind are to be fired, and that Russian peacekeeping forces would be there, and that if anything were to happen from that point on, that Russia will get militarily involved in this conflict. Now, within 2 hours of shots being fired, Russian peacekeeping forces arrived to those villages. The activity ceased, the hostile activities ceased, and the Russian Foreign Ministry of Defense, whatever they call it, the Russian department that's in charge of such things, pretty much immediately made an announcement that, 1, it was aware of it, 2, that it is going to be taking action. This is huge because this means that the prediction from a lot of folks that the war for Artsakh is not over, that prediction was in fact accurate. So what will happen from now, I don't know. We can only predict and, pray that it's not going to be as bad as most of us are predicting. The very unfortunate side of it is that we have already seen quite a decent number of Californians return home to Armenia to go and fight in a war in their homeland, their ancestral homeland. Now, for me, I can easily draw the parallels between California and Armenia here, right? There was a war that was fought in our ancestral homeland of California. There was a massive amount of indigenous support, which is kind of the only reason why California really beat Mexico at a point in time where the United States of America was saying, oh no, don't rub Mexico the wrong way, we can't afford it. So Californians, for a while independent, were actually massively supportive of our indigenous brothers and sisters, who were largely the reason why we actually ended up that way in the first place. We kind of owed it to them, one might say. Now, the people of Artsakh are Armenian, but they are of the Republic of Artsakh, which has declared its independence through the Articles of Self-Determination, which is the UN World Court. It's the legal means. Once actual representatives started using the word self-determination, all of a sudden we got France coming out and, Macron says something. We got other UN top leader nations coming out and saying something. We finally got Russia, which is historically been the nation that has the go-to point man duties, with Armenia being sandwiched, right there next to Turkey, and the long, long history of violence there. So they were reluctant at first, yet once world court nations started coming out in support of Armenians, and especially Armenians in Artsakh and their right to self-determination, all of a sudden, boom, Russia's there as the point man. Fine, we'll send in peacekeeping forces. That's a huge commitment. You're actually sending your people to another land to protect it, right?
Jason, can I ask a question real quick?
Totally.
Are you advocating for the increase in the usage of the term self-determination within our movement? I'm trying to figure out all the parallels between Artsakh and California. I've been following that pretty closely also. But like Catalan or Scotland, or any of the other movements of independence around the world, do you have connection there? Like, I'm trying to figure out where you're going.
Yeah. So yes, and the answer to all of that is yes. I have been keeping apprised of all of them, including Papua, which a lot of people have not been talking about. Papua, the indigenous folk of Papua, have been trying to basically declare self-determination. They haven't been using those words, and the conflict got violent, and some folks started talking about the violence, the conflict, but they weren't really talking much about the fact that here is a people who are trying to be free. So Scotland, people who are trying to be free. Artsakh, people who are trying to be free. California, people who are trying to be free, right? Now, we don't have a violent, bloody conflict, thank the Lord. The thing about the self-determination now is that it's not to be a doomsayer or to be anything like that. It's that one must prepare for any and all possibilities so as to not be caught off guard should something ever come along. Do I think the United States would invade us for declaring our right to self-determination and self-governance? No, I honestly, even under Trump and his crazy, shoot first, ask questions later, I still don't think that it would really happen, because...
But what about his supporters?
Well, yeah, so you'll get some rogue factions here and there that are like the Proud Boys and the QAnon.
I don't know. Did you listen to Shankar's contribution earlier about San Bernardino?
Yeah.
You see what's going down in DC right now?
Oh, yeah. And
yeah, dude, it's pretty big, bro.
We got to think outside of traditional narratives, and that's what decolonization is all about, and why I'm such a advocate for
Exactly.
Western California.
Dude, we got to think outside the box, dude.
Yeah.
You're so right,
Let
man.
me-
We have to
me
return to
finish.
balance. We have to restore right relationships. We have to demand justice, and there needs to be accountability and
I
reconciliation
agree.
for the
I
history.
agree.
And that's where all this curriculum comes into conversation. We can fix this problem in less than a generation if we start kids at preschool learning about the actual truth, not just here in California at this momentous anniversary, but also abroad, like in ARTSOC
Yeah.
and all the
Yeah.
other places that we're always talking about. MIBC, right? Matt's got connections down in BC. The reestablishment of the Commission of California Governors. That's huge. Nobody's talking about it. Like the revolution is happening as we speak, and no one's talking about it. The revolution is indeed not being televised, and it's only online if you know where to look, because it's certainly not on Matt app.
Okay.
So can I finish, please?
Please,
I
yeah.
agree.
Sorry.
I agree with you on all of that. Okay. I want to make that clear. The reason why I'm bringing this all up is because Papua, the people of Papua, the indigenous nations, right? And people aren't really talking about it because the conflict's not huge. No one expects these, tribes to beat a modern military. So they just kind of give up on it before they even get on board. ARTSOC, no one was getting on board. I convinced Alex to please the ANCA Western Region Director, the actual Armenian National Council of North America representative here who lives down in LA. Convinced him to look over some of the stuff, just, basically refine the message. Take a couple of keywords and make them those hot keywords that the bureaucrats of the world are looking for. The moment that they did that, all of a sudden, world outcry, pro-ARTSOC independence, pro-Armenia, save the whale, right?
Jason, could I ask you a question? I'm going to piggyback on John's question because
and then in 5 minutes, guys, we need to move on.
I just
5 more
wanna bring
minutes,
it-
and then we need to move on.
I want to bring it back to just to the relationship between California and Armenia. Since you have such a connection with the Armenian community, have you been able to talk to these leaders and talk about the movement Independent California and how it would be beneficial for Armenians to jump on our movement? And what kind of response have you gotten?
Yeah, so that's perfect because that was the other half of why I brought this all up, because it leads back to something I was going to say on John's first piece with the, for lack of a better term, the Bernie movement collapse. Yes, I have been hammering it out there as much as I feel is appropriate, right? I've got connections here and there with more than just Armenians, but with the Armenian issue very specifically, I know some folks and I have no actual Armenian blood in me, so I can't ever be the guy who goes up and says, we must unite, free our people, right? Because technically the people of Armenia are not my people. Armenian Californians, however, very much so are my people. We are each other's people. Now, I hammer this thing home, right? Like, obviously, if you're here in California, you are a Californian, and that means that we love and respect and value you. And whatever culture, whatever nation you came from, we do not want to try to stamp that out. We love that, and we want to be inclusive. We want it saved and nurtured and cherished throughout the world. Now, you look at America and what they say and what they do, and you look at California and what we say and what we do, just on art side, right? Now, America still to this day has not openly, officially acknowledged that the genocide of 1915 happened at all. There was very recently, with the using of self-determination and the sudden world boom for Armenia and Artsakh independence, all of a sudden, here comes a new push from the Congress to openly recognize the genocide that Turkey perpetrated against Armenians. Now, California has already, on an official level, has already acknowledged that that genocide happened and that it was atrocious. California, on an official level, has already recognized Artsakh's right to independence. Now, we do have nations all around the world, ones that are pushing for independence currently, as well as ones that are currently their own and doing their own thing, right? We have a lot of support from nations around the world. They are waiting because, you know, you have to say certain things and you have to do certain things to trigger certain legal responses from the world court. By saying things like self-determination. That's why I keep hammering this home. So, independent America, world leader, doesn't recognize Armenian genocide of 1915, continues to be quiet and inactive. California, very much the opposite. It does not take a rocket scientist to figure out that an independent California that obviously loves its Armenian people, you know, it only stands to reason that an independent California, we would be supportive of them and their cause. So a lot of Armenians see and hear the inaction. They see things are still getting worse. People are still attacking their homeland. Their brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents are dying still, right? And there is a large portion of Armenian Californians who are now aware that, yes, California does have a push for independence, much like Artsakh. And that an independent California would obviously continue to recognize that that genocide happened and that it was atrocious, right? So, with the burning folks, just real quick,
and then we got to move on. Sorry, brother, please.
So with the burning folks, it's the same thing. I was totally staunch Bernie supporter for the last 8 years. And I now exclusively deal in California politics, and I only pay attention to American stuff because it's important to our movement. I'm not really partaking in it, though. And that's
right. You just spent the last 10 minutes talking about Artsakh and Armenia. Which is it?
So,
no offense, guys. We have an hour discussion going into, so if we could wrap up this segment, let's let Jason talk for 1 minute, and then Jason, no offense, brother, we got to move on. Closing statements, Jason.
So basically, it comes down to this: if you valued the things that Bernie was for, then you will never see it in America. You won't. You could see it in an independent California. You want freedom, true representation, true democracy, right? I'm totally for democracy. I don't think America has actual democracy. And that's the real problem, right? Like, it's not a real democracy. So you want democracy, you want representation of the people, and independent California will most likely be doing that. America most likely will not. That's it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jason. Really appreciate that. A lot of deep insights on how to reach out to other communities like Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, Armenians, and Indigenous people. Okay, without further ado, we're going to start the open discussion where we're going to be nice to each other and cordial. And we're going to talk about the idea of returning land to the Indigenous. Not everyone in calexit supports this idea. You do not have to support this idea to be part of calexit. That being said, many of us in the movement do support this idea of returning all federal land to the Indigenous as a start for paying back the genocide. I'll let John kick it off, but John, this is about open questions. So people are going to ask questions. We're all going to please keep it polite
and brief. We don't need long answers.
And I'm just going to put this out there right now. If it appears like collectively we can't keep it polite, I'll just end the whole session. So be nice, be polite. I will not do a reminder. I'll just end this fucker. So sorry, I've been there where we've talked about this and people needed some reminders, which makes me a little cautious. So John, what is the plan for Return California? And then we're going to take questions from everybody about whether they like it or don't like it. And we'll just go from there.
Thanks, Marcus. I can answer that question with one word: decolonization. That's what it looks like. We cannot have a conversation about this without deconstructing our very foundations, what the institutions of our lives have bred into us, how we've been conditioned by the system that we all live in, and how by returning land, you are returning to balance and harmony. This isn't about land ownership, because ownership is a settler colonial construct. This is about a return to balance. That's why the indigenous people told us that's what we should call it. I didn't come up with Return California. That was Canyon Sayers Roots, whose mother is a longtime Ohlone activist, very well respected in the community. So Return California is about decolonization. It's about a return to balance and harmony. And if you're against that, I don't know what to say to you. Like, I just get out of my way, please. Like, I'm tired of obstructionists, right? If you're not down with restoring right relationships, what are we doing? Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, John, this meeting was supposed to be in big part, as far as Return California, talking about what we had talked about after the, I think the Tuesday
fifth roundtable
that you had, the roundtable. And it was about, I mean, most people here may not know, it was about actually inviting the leaders of the indigenous movement to this TIM conference. And you were going to talk to them last week, Monday, Tuesday. You had a bunch of meetings. So I just wanted to know if you had a chance to do that, and what were the answers, and what did these people, what kind of feeling did they have about coming on here?
Yeah, I touched on that a little bit earlier today when we talked about Rohnert Park and about the ancestral homelands of the people who hosted the last roundtable, and who agreed to host all future roundtables on the first Tuesday of every month. What's happening is I'm taking a huge step back. I'm disconnecting. I'm no longer available on my 415 number. I'm stepping back from my work with MPP. I'm stepping back from my work with the Nevada County Food Policy Council that I work on here. I'm stepping back from Common Vision, which is a board that I've sat on for the last 3 years that governs an organization that plants orchards in schools. I don't know if any of y'all knew this, but I have a master's in education. I used to teach high school, and because of an action that I participated in that got me a record, I was no longer able to do that. So that was just yet another thing that radicalized me and sent me closer to the path that our ancestors walked. And when you check out from this settler colonial construct and you check back in with the land and the people who walked here first, your perspective shifts. And that's what Return California is about. It's about a shift in perspective. No one can argue that we are living in an unacceptable reality. Anyone who argues that we live in an acceptable reality needs psychiatric help. Okay? They don't need to be engaged. We don't have to talk to them. Don't feed the trolls, people. Let's stay on task. Our lives depend on it. Our children's lives depend on it. We talk about 7 generations in indigenous culture. Many tribes in Turtle Island that talk about this. We have to think 7 generations in the future. We're talking about decolonization, about reprogramming ourselves to the way we were before, finding a balance between then and now. The pendulum has shifted too far away from where we need to be. And as long as we're talking about a bullshit construct, we're not talking about the solutions.
Okay, any other questions? This is your chance to ask questions about Return California. Anything you thought, any critiques? We made sure to set aside time for people to ask whatever they would like.
We haven't heard from Darren. He's the economist guy, right?
Yeah, sort of. Not really. It's more like a hobby.
Do you have any questions about this? Is there anything that
No,
you see or hear that you would improve upon, like messaging? Like, how do we get through to people that the effort that we all need to be focusing on is a return to balance, about restoring right relationships?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that, I mean, when I first heard of Return California, that really did sync up with, I mean, it registered with me a lot when I first heard of it, because it is really along those lines. Yeah, that's an excellent question about messaging.
Yeah, I mean, you're someone relatively new to our group, and getting people's honest first response to messaging is really important, and that's what's so important about gilded rather, because it's about onboarding, right? When someone checks into the conversation, they're going to look around, and if they don't see things that represent themselves, they're not going to stay. And every organization I've ever been a part of, this is an issue.
Well, I mean, just one thing, you know, the first exposure I had to this was just, you know, watching through some old meetings on Marcus's YouTube channel. And I know you had mentioned earlier about you had some issues with conflicts during meetings and following, you know, respecting people and that kind of thing. And at least the first few that I saw seemed you had worked that out, and really just watching a meeting where people were respectful and everything was pretty organized and professional. That was the first thing that I know that, you know, if I'd seen some wildly disorganized, you know, people screaming at each other, I could have checked out within like 5 minutes. So, you know, just how you carry yourselves just in ordinary interactions, and you know, that was my first impression, at least, you know, got me to saying, okay, I'll spend a little bit of time looking more into this, and then, you know, there's other things, but it seems like it's very, you know, why would that be something important? But you know, when you have, you're modeling when you do that. At least that's what I first noticed. You know, that just how people were carrying themselves out during the recordings that I was seeing. I thought, yeah, this is, you know, these are people that
I can't believe you're saying that.
the same wavelength as.
You got lucky.
So, I don't. Does that make sense about, you know, what I'm?
This time last year, man, we were completely separated. I mean, the entire movement was just factioned off, and we realized, Hal and myself, that, you know, there has to be some sort of unity happening here, and if we could put aside everybody's differences and just come to the table and just talk, let's pretend to like each other, just to get this, just to be cordial and try to move forward in some way, and that's where we're at right now. Believe me, I mean, even in our movement, there's people that don't like other people and don't like other groups, but none of that is being brought up. None of that's being aired out. It's only, how are we moving ahead of a meeting?
Well,
Is that?
That's a good
you
job,
did a
Marcus.
pretty good job, because every time you say something about, you know, let's all be polite and not like, let's not have like a year or two ago. From my perspective of a new program, I'm like, what was the big deal before?
Oh my God, dude!
You've made a lot of progress. You should feel good about that.
I don't like myself half the time, you know? Like, I'm constantly asking people to reel me in because I get on a soapbox. You know, I'm so passionate about this. I've been working on it so diligently for so long, and I'm trying to stay humble about it, but people aren't listening, and I'm struggling at communicating the meat of this. And Sue touched on it perfectly. Thank you so much, Sue. Like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. People think we're literally talking about returning land. That is a settler colonial construct. That is not what we're talking about. We are talking about returning California to its pre-colonial splendor. That's it. Anyone that interferes with that or opposes that needs to have their head examined.
Let's not go into that.
I just want to say, Marcus, I just want to say to Darren, basically what you're seeing is that, you know, we realize, I mean, we all pretty much agree with each other on independent California topics. The problem we had, and we still somewhat have, is how to get there. That's where we differ on the methods of how to best get there. But once you realize that we don't need to fight each other because we agree with the concept, the final goal is independent California. We all want to get there, but the only thing we kind of disagree, and we need to be tolerant, is how do we do that? And people have different opinions on that. And we need to listen to everyone's opinion because there's not just one way to do that. There's many ways to achieve that. And this is what you're seeing right now, that we've come to terms with that. And, you know, we're tolerant of other people saying, well, we need to do this to get there. We need to do this. So indigenous people is another way to get there, to get our indigenous people to support California, Armenia to get the Armenian community to support California, Shankar, you know, Bakersfield, All these things are a way to get there, but they're different paths, and they're all good. They're all getting results. So that's what I wanted to address.
I also want to say, I think because of this unity, I think we're actually everybody's kind of like just slowed down a lot. Maybe it's COVID. Maybe it's COVID. I don't know. But I think the different groups don't want to make a major move to piss off another group or to piss off to embarrass another group. Even though they hate that group, they don't want to, incite another argument. And so I don't think the movement's really doing as much as it could because of that. But I mean,
can I speak to that, Shankar?
Yeah, please do, man.
We have to go back to my first statement. The answer to the question about Return California was one word. Who can tell me what it was?
Decolonialization.
Decolonization.
Yes.
Decolonize, exactly. You guys are paying attention. In order to talk about a free and independent California, we have to talk about decolonization. We have to talk about reconciliation.
John, you've got to tell this to the movement, bro. You've got to present it, man.
I'm not the one presenting it. The indigenous people are presenting it. The movement has to listen.
Dude, they're not going to, bro. You're not going to tell them to go, hey, go to this event and listen to this.
Then they're not a part of the same movement.
Dude.
Like Marcus always said, you don't have to agree with everything that we're all doing. Right? If you don't support something, then, put your energy elsewhere.
Okay.
Don't interfere with its progress.
John, with that, please.
Don't retaliate. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry.
I wasn't trying to talk over you.
No, sorry, John. Please, on that note, please invite these leaders to this conference so that
they've been on. We just had our 5th conference, man. We started in August.
Here to this conference to CIM.
Every Sunday at noon.
Yeah,
we all have to be on the same page before that happens, and we're not.
I think we are.
Why not, dude? Bring them on, bro. Why don't you bring them in?
Marcus.
No,
I agree with Dan.
I agree with Dan too. Ultimately, not at the moment.
And Dan agrees with us, bro. He believes in it too, bro.
No, yeah. I know he does. What I'm saying is, from my perspective and my understanding of indigenous people, from walking in prayer and holding ceremony with them for my whole life, is something that I cannot communicate with colonial thinking and colonial language. Truth is not a word. If they come into this conference and they hear shit about Donald Trump and the GOP and the DNC and all the fucking bullshit in this reality TV show nightmare episode of The Apprentice White House edition, like, they're gonna check out immediately.
That's how BLM meetings are too, man. They don't never bring up Trump. They never bring up any of this shit, bro. It's always
you have no legitimacy if you're talking about the systems that you're trying to replace.
But dude, I get that. I totally get that. Believe me. But look, I mean, first of all, I mean, after decolonization, I mean, there's going to be people here that are new to that. So I mean, they've got to be tolerant to it for a little bit to help spread their message out a little bit more. I mean, help me understand that, dude. I mean.
Let me give you an example. I don't want to ramble, so if any one of you on this call is checked out or bored, please just turn off your video so I know who you are and I can adjust my behavior accordingly. I don't want to be on a soapbox. I don't want to.
What are you talking about right now?
Yeah, I don't want to be.
Just get on a soapbox and explain yourself, bro.
I don't want to be the voice of the people whose voices I'm trying to amplify.
Just try for a little bit for us or your friends. This is not the public.
I'm gonna ask you to empathize real quick. Everybody, let's do a little thing that I used to do with my students to help center us. Everybody, however you're comfortable, close your eyes, turn off your video, whatever. Just imagine for one moment that you are an indigenous person living on the plains of the Dakotas, following the herds of buffalo, pitching your teepee nearby, wherever they're sleeping for the night, you sleep for the night, following them around the plains. One day, some dude that doesn't even look like you shows up on a horse that you've never seen and has a weapon in his hand, a rifle. And you see him riding up, and all of a sudden, you see fire come from the end of that thing he's holding, and your horse takes a bullet. Right? This is the reality in a single individual experience that's multiplied by millions in the genocide of their people by the very same flag that flies over this land right now.
All right.
You walk into a room where that flag is flying and you're not welcome.
Dude, that is a clown flag. It is not anywhere in here, bro. You mean what do you?
The California flag is the same thing.
No.
We had a genocide that occurred underneath that
Okay.
flag.
Okay, fine. All right. I can get that.
Gavin Newsom formally apologized at the beginning of his term and
Yeah.
established the Truth and Healing Council.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
John,
Yeah. So the
John,
truth is that we all live under a flag that flew by the same government that slaughtered millions of Californians. And that continues.
They are trying to right that wrong. Listen, dude, I mean, look, man, I'm Indian, bro. My family is all over the fucking globe because the English came and took us everywhere and took us to Africa as slaves, to the Caribbean. I mean, and thank God it was in the later half of the century where we could write and keep in touch. I still know my family. So, I mean, I realize what the Westerners, the Europeans have done, dude. Believe me, I can get that. As an Indian person, a real OG Indian. I mean, I can get that, and the native and indigenous are the same thing. It's not like they were born, you know, like your example was. I mean, they grew up with the Simpsons just like me, you know. I mean, shit. But
colonial, that settler colonial.
Absolutely, dude. It is, man. And if they could put on that mask for a little bit and come over here and help us understand where they're coming from, that would be great.
You got to assimilate.
Huh?
You have to assimilate. If you want success.
Show us how, bro. Give us lessons on it, man.
Well, that's what I'm trying to
we can go over there. I can go over to.
Hold on, Shankar. Hold that thought.
Shankar, let Marcus speak, and then I want to say something. Marcus.
I just want the entire movement to get behind it. That's my goal.
Yeah.
Well, you can't force that. Okay, we can't force that. The only thing we can do is make it welcoming.
Sue had something she wanted to say.
Yeah, I wanted to suggest to everyone Lenata Warjack's book, Native Resistance, something. This is turning out to be a really great book, and I'm only in the first chapter, but it really gets you in touch with what was going on, the way John was just trying to do, with what was going on back then, how they were, you know, just getting killed wholesale. And how that happened. And I'll shut up now.
They went to lands where people didn't have guns and took it over and destroyed the people. Tried to destroy them as much as they could.
They continue to try and destroy them.
John, just to get back to what Shankar was saying and what I was saying to invite them. There's not one person here that doesn't agree with you as far as, you know, the massacre, the genocide that happened. That's for sure. Now you're saying you're afraid to bring him on because somebody's going to talk about America, this. We understand that. So, you know, all the members here, we can all agree not to bring that up. We're adults. We can agree to let them speak and ask them questions that are relevant to them, not to America and not to Biden or whatever. We can all agree, and we can go one by one and say, yeah, we can agree to be cordial, like Marcus always says. Do not be insulting. Do not be that. We are adult enough to be able to do that and keep the conversation.
No doubt. We haven't had this conversation until now.
Yeah.
So to answer your question again, there's no reason why they can't come to this call.
Yeah.
Great.
Right now, could I have brought them on Sunday without having this conversation last week?
No, probably not, man. We would have fucked up. But hey, before they come on, please give us some instructions. Maybe they'll go on first. And you know what, dude? This could be a practice for the rest of the movement, man.
Yeah.
So we can prep them to prepare them for an indigenous person coming to speak. Because, dude, I'll tell you, every BLM meeting, bro, there's indigenous there. And the first thing BLM does is give, say a ceremony to the native, to that tribe that owns that land right there. That's the first fucking thing they do every time, bro. So, what?
When you do that, that creates a very specific environment.
Right.
When was the last time we did that?
Never.
That's not true. That's not true.
When did we do
Marcus,
this?
when was it, brother?
Well, I think we're in safe
Fucking
territory.
Tuesday. Every single person had to say what land they were on.
What do you mean?
Our 5th listening roundtable. Introduction of all the people on the call, and every single person, without exception, said where they were from, whose land they were on, and
that's awesome.
Why they're there.
So
why are you here? Why do you want to be in this conversation? If you want to restore right relationships, you're in the right place. If you don't, find the door. Dude,
and let's get that guy Edwin to come too, man. That guy's legit, bro. Edwin. He just moved here from I don't know, Illinois.
Knew better.
Yeah, what was his last name?
Knew better.
Edwin, dude, you.
Yeah, and also John, I forget her name, but the one that was in the last meeting, the student that, the head of the last. I'm sorry, you didn't listen, but the lady. Can you hear me? Yeah, the lady that was in the last meeting.
And then another person talks and I can't hear him. So it's really wreaking havoc on my nervous system.
Oh, dude, come on, man, relax, bro. We're your friends, dude. We're not here to.
I know, but like Shankar, your volume is so high, and Daniel's is so low. I have to turn Daniel up and turn you down, and that's really taking a lot of energy. So,
all right, dude, it's chill, man. It's chill.
Just talk quieter. That would really help.
Sorry, bro.
That's cool.
Sorry, how's my volume?
You have a sensitive mic, brother.
How's my volume, John? Is it okay?
You're low, Daniel. It's hard to hear you.
I'm low.
The difference between the two of you is extreme, is all I'm saying.
Oh, okay, I'll get closer.
Hey, I've heard Dan go up loud.
Come on, man, you're killing me.
I
can't hear Daniel.
Shankar, lower your voice.
Shankar, lean back. If you lean back, Shankar, the volume should equal out to Dan's. Dan was leaned back. That's why his volume is lower. Dan.
Talk quieter, man. You're blowing my eardrums.
So John,
Shankar, just lean back and you're good.
So John, what I was asking is the lady that came on the last meeting, the Tuesday, that was the head of the panel. What was her name?
Julina Acosta.
Yeah, Julina and stuff. I think she would be great to have on this conference to come on. I mean, she was really. I love the way she spoke. I love the everything she had to say. I think really she would be a great person to invite, as far as from what I've seen in the conferences, into this conference. So
did you have a chance to look at the third listening roundtable?
What's that?
Did any of you have a chance to listen to the third roundtable?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, Matt was there, I believe. Marcus was on the call. I think Jason may have been there, but I'm not sure. It's recorded. It's on the Return California YouTube channel.
The
But
chat.
the host of that, oh yeah, cool. That's right, you were there, Jason. The host of the chat was Ali Mettersnight of the Machupta Maidu and Chico. Thank you, Pepe. Ali has a doctoral dissertation student who she travels with. Her name is Mel Figueroa, and she is Filipina and studying land back initiatives and traditional ecological knowledge, which was the theme of the third roundtable. And her and Julina are like inseparable in my mind because they have the same mannerisms, they have a similar demeanor, and that may appear to be a coincidence to some people, but for those who walk in ceremony and prayer, Creator has a very specific way of speaking to you. He speaks through you through the trees and through the birds and the animals around you. He sends you messages constantly, and you can deny that. And
Hey, Matt, getting in your car?
I'm in it.
Matt, if you can mute your.
Oh, of course.
Hearing.
Of course. Yeah, I got something I got to take care of.
Can I say a few things?
of course, man, I'm not trying to dominate.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, I got to go in 20 minutes. And we might wrap it up then. We can continue this conversation. I do need to point out a couple things, not my opinion. So I've been with Return California from the beginning, and I'm very much about spreading the idea. So I've been talking to people, what is some of the resistance with more things? So a couple of things. One is not everyone in the movement supports this idea. It is a mistake to assume that everybody's going to love this and be
No. That's not the. I'm sorry, Marcus, but it's not. It's to get everybody familiar with the exact message of it. That's all it is. It's not, hey, this is part of the movement now. It's just information. That's all, Marcus.
Okay. So just putting that out there.
I realize that too. I realize that too.
Yeah, same.
But let me just get through this, please. If we have people come, there's going to be some people who aren't fully on board. So
And they shouldn't be on the call.
I'm sorry?
They shouldn't be on the call.
Okay.
I don't understand that.
Why would you be on board?
Guys,
why would you
I
be on
don't
the call?
understand that. I don't understand that, Marcus. I don't get that.
I don't either, brother. It doesn't make
I got
sense
it for
to
about
me.
4 minutes.
If they're
Let me
not,
just get it out and then say whatever.
All right, go ahead, man. I'll mute.
Just 4 minutes. Let me just get a couple points out and I will stop talking. Okay. Not everybody's fully supportive of this. So I've asked them why, because I support it. And some of the questions that they had were, and I'm not taking a stance, I'm just saying that it would probably be a good idea to get some answers out there if there's some way to do this, because I think you could get more people supporting this if some of these questions were addressed. Number one, you return all the land back to the indigenous. And again, these are not my questions. I'm not taking an opinion. I'm giving feedback so that you can know what some of the resistance is. Number one, how do you know you return all the land back to the indigenous and they don't drill for oil and mining rights and totally destroy all the land? We know that some indigenous have done that. That has happened. I'm not blaming anybody, but this idea that every single indigenous person hasn't destroyed the earth in order to make a profit is not true. Some have done that. Now, I'm not saying any California nations would do that. I don't know them. Maybe this is a ridiculous concept, but it is a question some people are asking, probably worth addressing. The second one is, half of California is owned by federal land. You're going to turn over 50% of the land mass to a population of about 100, 150,000. How are they going to manage that much land? And at some of the Return California sessions, I mean, even Canyon brought up like, wow, that's a lot of land to manage. So what is the plan to have a population of 150,000, or actually, frankly, half of that, manage all that land? Secondly, would the group be looking at the Palm Springs solution that John advocated, or at least mentioned recently? I think it's a great solution, and Matt's been bringing up recently for years. So in Palm Springs, you have an indigenous group, and every miles squared is owned by the indigenous, and the next one's owned by the county or the city. And so what happens is the indigenous can't do anything without the government approving, but the government can't do anything without the indigenous approving. And if you look at Palm Springs, you have a very empowered indigenous group that has wealth and ownership and feels empowered. So is Return California open to the idea of the Palm Springs checkerboard? Is that a possible solution to managing that land? If not, how is a population of less than 100,000 going to manage millions of acres of land? Secondly, do the indigenous support secession? Again, these are not my questions. I support Return California, and I'm just trying to get us all to a common place. Finally, I heard that Return California is not about returning land. I've been saying it is. So what does that mean if it's not about returning land?
Dude, hold on. All I gotta say.
Almost there. Let me just get it done. I'm sorry. Additionally, we did acknowledge indigenous land back. All of our calexit conferences, when we were able to meet, we said that it was on Tovangar, which is the Tongva word for the Los Angeles Basin, Tovangar land. We did do that. When COVID hit and we were split up, it was like, are we going to do 8 different land acknowledgements? We could, but yeah. Finally, some people, again, not my opinion, just putting that out there so we can have an open discussion. They really don't like the terminology. Again, I love the idea, but you got to have your head checked. You're a colonizer. That is to some people off-putting and limits the conversation going to a more constructive place. So there, I said it. I'm done talking. I'll leave it there.
Hey, so when people like ask me, hey, I want to go to India, but I don't want to eat any like monkey brains. I mean, is there other food there besides monkey brains? I mean, because that's just disgusting. I just can't fathom the idea of eating monkey brains. Or are they gonna? I mean, do I have to pray to a cow when I go there? I mean, so these questions are a bit ridiculous, aren't they, Marcus? A bit.
They've all been answered.
Wait, guys, just as a courtesy, please, Shankar, anybody on this meeting, raise your hand. Don't take over.
Oh, sorry, bro.
And stuff. Raise your hand if John has to say something. If Shankar, because even for future meetings, and especially if we get indigenous to come on, we can't be.
I'm sorry.
And jumping in.
I'm a bill. I'm sorry. I'm a bill in the China shop, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So let's keep that on, okay? And John, if you wanted to say something, so go ahead.
Yeah, I use extreme language when extreme language is called for. If you're against restoring balance to our world, if you're in denial of the shit show that we live in, you're an obstructionist. Get out of my way. All the questions that you just asked, Marcus, have been answered ad nauseum for 500 years by every indigenous elder that I know.
Yeah, Marcus. Oops, sorry.
To ask these questions is an insult because it shows that they have not listened to what we've been doing. What's Return California about? How about you go to the website and read? How about you watch the fucking videos? How about you attend one of the seminars? How about you shut the fuck up if you're not going to pay attention and ask questions that we've already answered?
John, one sec. So look, check it out. So you heard the questions I just posed to Marcus about going to India and eating monkey brains and painting. That's just ridiculousness, right? I understand exactly where you're coming from. So look, let's look at it like this. Let's look at it like I'm going to go to a meeting to explain to people who think where I come from, people eat monkey brains and pray to cows. And I'm going to have to go there and explain to them that we don't really fucking do that shit. I have to dumb down myself to their level of thinking to maybe make them understand what the goal is, what the real goal is. I mean,
that's a constant problem that every single BIPOC person I know experiences every day of their life. You shouldn't require me to explain to you why you shouldn't behave that way. The burden of proof is on the question asker, not on me.
Yeah, but I mean, they know nothing about you. They know nothing about. They have heard shit about you. They don't know.
They have every opportunity to learn. It's not my responsibility to teach them.
They're Americans, bro.
I don't care. They represent a fraction of a minority that is irrelevant to my mission in life, which is to restore balance.
You're talking about people who, when they go to other countries, refuse to learn the language, refuse to learn anything about that culture. They go there acting.
Behavior, man. It's learned behavior, and a new system can relearn that same behavior overnight. You make it socially unacceptable to behave that way, and no one behaves that way. You have a president that spouts off this nonsense and makes it acceptable, then you see it reflected in the masses. All these people that lost the fucking Civil War, they're still clinging to that. That is holding us back. That is a supreme example of the ignorance of which we speak. I'm not going to dedicate my energy to addressing their ignorance. Daniel.
Yes, can I make a suggestion going back again to the point of if we do have an indigenous person come to this meeting, I disagree with Marcus that we should have these people that are there. We should only have people that agree to the terms of that the indigenous person is the king of this conference, and we ask questions regarding things about them, not America, not this. We keep it that way. So now, as far as if we want to get other members that are coming in and know nothing about, and they have all these questions that Marcus said, you just said, John, that you don't want to answer those and stuff like that, which is okay. So we will answer.
I've already answered them.
Yeah, but I mean, we're all willing to answer them for them and to send them to one of your videos and to say all that so they get informed. And when they come back and they're on board, then maybe they can come onto one of these meetings where there's an indigenous person. But so my point is, let's not distract from having that person come on this conference with just us that agree to these terms. Would that be okay, John, with you?
Yeah, of course. Shankar?
Hey, so look, Dan, how about this, bro? How about we prep the fucking people before indigenous come and go, listen, what are your fucking questions here? Let's get these out of the way so you don't embarrass us by asking them to that person or having these. Let's just do that instead, maybe, if we can prep them so they don't, even behave and body language in the wrong way. I mean, because of preconceived thoughts that they're not sure about. I mean, I think that might be a better
Shankar, who's them? Basically, it's us here. We don't.
No, dude. There's us in this meeting. There's us in this meeting that don't agree with that. They don't agree. They don't know anything about it, though.
Okay, so then we need to prep each other. Yes, you're definitely right. I want to hear who doesn't agree with this. And
you have to have that meeting. Yeah.
They shouldn't be on the meeting.
I don't think we do, guys. Respectfully.
On the meeting, right, John?
I don't think we have to have that meeting. I think there should just be a caveat that if you haven't looked at the returncalifornia.org website, if you haven't watched any of the previous roundtables or participated in any of the previous roundtables, then you don't have the right to be on this call. These things have happened within the California independence movement for the last 3 years. Marcus and I have been meeting about Return California with indigenous advisors since 2017, along with Matt and Sue. Sue's taken copious amounts of notes for those meetings. Every Monday for 3 years, we've been having these conversations. If you're not willing to do the homework, then you shouldn't expect those who have done it to do it for you. That's all I'm saying. And
Listen, bro.
Yes, Shankar.
Look, dude, look, man. If we can get the movement, all of the groups behind this, that would be massive. It would be massive. It would define us, bro.
The opportunities are there. We've been trying. We've been trying.
Well, no, we're trying now. We're trying now.
They're not using the right language.
We're not using the right language.
Can I just explain something to you guys real quick? I think that a lot of people might have missed this.
I'm sorry for yelling. Go ahead.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm passionate too. I think a lot of people might have missed this. Sue summarized very, very clearly. Thank you, Sue, for acknowledging it. When we're talking about Return California, we are not talking about the settler colonial construct of land ownership. That is completely foreign to the people who lived here before. That's all that needs to be acknowledged. You need a verbal acknowledgement of that very fact, that our language is incapable of communicating something they don't have words for.
You also tell them that they're not going to their house to take their guns and their first daughter.
Yeah. No one's going to lose anything. Everyone's going to gain. You want to ask questions about how we pay for that? You hear yourself?
Oh, I heard that. I know. Don't get pissed, man. Don't get pissed, bro.
I can't. I don't do this when I'm
Dude, I've had to deal with that shit my whole life, bro.
Of course you have. You're the only one among us that has.
Dude, it's just you just gotta explain to people sometimes, man. Sometimes it's worth explaining, but most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's not, bro.
But every person of color that I know tells me that it's not their responsibility to educate people about these things.
But they're not.
In the age of information, ignorance is a choice. Okay, I cannot help you if you have chosen the wrong place to invest all your time and energy.
Those people that told you that, John, how many of them are trying to galvanize a movement?
I'll say that again.
Those people that you said it wasn't their responsibility, how many of them are trying to galvanize a movement?
I can only speak for myself, and I am.
Oh, dude. I can understand why they wouldn't. It's not my responsibility to tell a person how come I can't swing it. I don't know how to swing a hammer because I'm not used to throwing tomahawks. The fuck?
Watch a YouTube video.
Shankar, yield the floor. I just want to make the last point I want to make is whether it is indigenous people we're talking about, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's the Armenian community.
Wait, Hannah, can you mute yourself, please?
Can you hear me?
No, Hannah, can you mute yourself, please?
Hannah. Oh no, it's not Hannah. It's somebody else.
Yes, it is. There's a box around her.
Cal Pride. Yeah, Cal Pride mute. Okay. I don't know if she's there. She's not there.
No, she's still. I can still see that she's listening.
Hannah, can you mute?
Oh, sure. Sorry. Yeah. I'm not too familiar with the Android app. You know what I'm saying? I'm not too familiar with the Android app.
So can you mute?
I am mute. Well, let's see.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
Let's see here.
I'm actually showing her as muted, which is really funny because I don't see her on her screen and it says she's muted, but I can hear her perfectly fine.
Because she's got two screens. Just close the Cal Pride on mobile.
That's right. Thank you.
Oh, that's where it's coming from.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, well, basically there's not that much noise. So again, what I wanted to say to all of you and John is we have to keep in mind the principle, again, like I said, whether it's Black Lives Matter, the Armenian movement, the indigenous, is the principle being that we go about our movement saying, how can we help you, not the other way around. Exactly. So if we have an indigenous person coming on, there's our question. How can we help you? How can we help you, whether, you know, and if we have an Armenian come up here, how can we help you? And that has worked because all of a sudden people are surprised. They're going, what? Nobody's ever asked us how we, how they can help me. They, you know, they've always asked us to help them. So we have to keep that focus of asking them, how can we help without anything in return?
Daniel, that's why the indigenous people told us to call this action Return California, and why they said if we wanted to do what you just spoke about, that we would frame it as a listening roundtable, so that people that wanted to listen could come together, and people that are asking questions that have already been answered are not listening. So why would we want them at a listening roundtable? They're purely invested in a system that is horribly corrupt and broken. And because of the time and energy they have invested in said system, they defend it with every ounce of their being. And in so doing, slow down the progress of everyone else in the movement.
Well, so another
hold on. Okay.
Another solution would be to mute everybody and not have any questions, just to listen.
Julina,
you know,
Julina told me after our last meeting that that was a mistake.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She said, I made a mistake. And I was like, please forgive me.
Why?
Because she wanted to hear from everyone. She wanted to know why people were on the call.
Okay.
Dude, okay, look.
You see? So my settler colonial, mine, John Simcha, my settler colonial upbringing made that so blatantly obvious to me in her words. And that's why I keep coming back to the single word that defines what Return California is about. It's about decolonization. We have to decolonize our activism, our language, everything. We have to listen.
Dude, I believe me, I get it, man. Believe me, I do. I just want to say one thing. Look, we all know who Maria Estrada is, right? Look, she has been shit upon in the media, other groups. She's been called an anti-Semite by some fake Jewish group that got set up just to smear her. She's been called a Farrakhan follower, and she has done events with us numerous times, and the CNP was thinking about endorsing her, and she was going to be happy to take that endorsement. But inside the CNP, there was people that said we can't have a Farrakhan follower and a anti-Semite in our party. None of that is true. Now, fast forward a year later, the key proponent in CNP that did not want that, I'm not going to mention anybody's names.
Wait, hold on a second, Shankar. Marcus, are you still there?
No, he's not. I guess not.
He's muted. He's hosting, right? Or is it you, Daniel?
No, he's hosting.
Marcus is hosting. Yeah.
Hal is hosting. Marcus is not in his seat right now.
I can see that, but Hal transferred hosting to Marcus, I believe.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just I'm hypersensitive to sounds and.
To the sound.
I'm gonna try not to yell. I'm gonna stay calm.
I have earphones in. Right.
I'm gonna talk normally.
So when there's something loud, it blasts my head.
I'm gonna talk normally. I hope you guys can hear me. Can you hear me?
When you're playing your guitar, at least please mute yourself.
I did. I was.
Okay, no, you weren't. You were just like struggling.
Yeah, but I was talking.
The guitar is not the problem. It's the voice. Like,
okay.
Yeah, it's my voice. It is my voice.
Daniel is very quiet. I can barely hear him. So I reach down and turn it up. And then Shankar comes in and my ears go out of my head.
I'm sorry, bro.
Shankar's the loudest of us.
Yeah, of course, which makes it doubly bad.
But,
my aunt's the same way, man. My aunt is the same way, bro. Okay. So look, we wanted to endorse, CNP wanted to endorse Maria. Ended up CNP didn't because there was so much infighting in there about endorsing her, including
What has CNP done?
Hold on, bro. I'm just giving you an example of.
I know the examples, man. It's called obstructionism, and it's provocateur 101. And I
They are organization.
Intolerant.
They are an organization in the movement.
They're
a year later.
They're in my way.
A year later.
Taking up space in this very conversation.
A year later, at Dan's house, when we were having the meetings there, Maria came to speak, and the individuals at CNP who did not endorse her, want her there, also came and heard her speak. And at that point, they all went outside. Maria, CNP people, they had a talk. I don't know what they discussed, but they were friends at the end. So I really believe that if you just give it time and let it marinate a little bit, we can overcome people's way of thinking and behaving and looking at how they see this land, man. That's all I got to say, bro. That's all I got to say, dude. I mean, I know you're fed up with them too. I know you want to destroy them and they need to get out of the way. Dude, they're not, and there's too many of them, bro.
Okay, just to end this, and maybe I'll give it.
Did he leave?
You like that? You
Shankar,
got
mute yourself, please.
Hello.
I would like to say something if possible.
Yeah, okay. Let me just say this, and then Jason, then Matt. I just want to say, please, you guys, what John has said is come. He's right. Come to one of these meetings on Tuesday. It's not that hard. We're not doing much, and listen to people. Don't talk. Just listen.
Hey, we're going to end the recording, okay? You guys can still keep talking. The channel's open, but we're going to end the recording. Nothing but love to everybody. I love you all.
Marcus?
Okay, Jason, why don't you just go right now? I mean, I don't know when he's going to end.
Wait, I have to correct you really quickly, Daniel.
Okay.
Our weekly meetings are Monday morning at 10.
Oh.
The roundtables are now hosted by Julina every first Tuesday at 1 p.m.
So which one should we go to? The Tuesday one or?
The Monday meeting is where we learn how to engage in the conversations that are being had.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So Monday at 10 then.
The Tuesday meeting, the first Tuesday of every month, is the roundtable, and you can watch the first
There's a
5.
Maggie in the freezer. Well, there's a lot of stuff in the freezer.
Can you hear,
As
Marcus?
I said, I got to empty the freezer.
Marcus, can you mute
I
Hannah?
have no room for anything.
There's something in the freezer that she can't get.
Hannah's fucking hilarious, bro.